Okay. So today I just want to talk a little bit about building applications, pipelines, scripts, whatever it may be, using agents to write the code while having little to no formal coding experience, because it surfaces a couple of very specific, very annoying problems that the repo link in the description can help mitigate against. The common term for this practice is vibe coding. Personally, the word vibe makes it sound way less of a structured activity than it truly can be. However, I do understand where the term comes from, born out of the real gap between knowing the fundamental syntax of a specific programming language versus knowing only what kind of UX you're attempting to simulate. So here are a couple of problems that emerge from that gap and the solution that I use to bridge it. So these agents don't really have a durable working memory across long implementation cycles. Rather, they have a bounded inference capacity called a context window. Context windows are measured in tokens. In my last video, I go over exactly what tokens are, and that can kind of give a little bit of background on how they would contribute to a context window or memory in this case. If you're interested in checking that out, hopefully I'll remember to put a link to the description in that as well. Here in VS Code, you can watch this little circle fill up as the agent processes information. Sometimes, depending on the model being used, the size of your repo, and the task you ask, one prompt can fill up half the window. Once the context window is full, earlier tokens fall out of the active context window. This gets really frustrating concerning technical decisions about why you took a certain approach, used a specific dependency, common failure patterns that should be avoided, and the cost of forgetting these things compounds a lot harder for someone like me who does not understand the nitty-gritty syntax of a coding language. I can understand the general structure of code bases and direct the agent to conceptual areas of code that are or are not working, but I don't know exactly what to tell the agent to write or how to build something. So the natural thing was for me to try and create an external memory for the agent rather than spend a large portion of the context window on recurring information. I was thinking about the custom agent markdown files you can seed the inference models with and wondered what would happen if I put a line in there referring to a document inside of the repo that could provide the agent with additional repo-specific context. This slowly grew from just tracking what was currently happening to tracking an entire archive of what's been implemented, what's failed, what decisions are still open, and why decisions that have been made were made. Putting that reference line at the top of the custom agent markdown file will ensure that the agent sees it at the beginning of every turn. A second problem is behavioral drift. Agents will often stop at scaffolding instead of runtime completion, arbitrarily version things causing conservative deletions, generalize solutions that should be task specific, and regress previously working behavior during unrelated changes. If you know the language deeply, you can correct this or prevent it surgically, but if you don't, you mostly experience it as something feels wrong, but you can't precisely specify why, which takes me back to the vibe aspect of the term, because in all fairness, that process truly does feel like poking around in the dark sometimes. An easy fix for the behavior issue is to just address it in the agent markdown file, but the best prompts can still be insufficient without persistent coordination structure for the agent over time. As well, there are really two layers operating in tandem here. There's the inference model and there's operational governance that is around the model. So I realized I wasn't really gravitating towards just better prompts for the inference model. It was more like a persistent semantic state, procedural governance, role specialization, implementation continuity, and the easy thing to do was to just bundle it. So I begin with copying a template harness into basically every repo. This folder contains a README, which is just a reference for the agent to understand the purpose of the harness and how to navigate it. It's the connecting point from the line at the top of the agent markdown file to the harness in each repo. Then there's a canon file, which is basically just a document describing the architectural and reasoning style that I want the agent to follow so that outputs stay consistent across the repo. Then there's an implementation project template, and this is basically just a formalized version of an episodic memory for the agent so that we can hone in on a specific aspect of the code base or a specific task and have a template that guides the agent through the process of actually implementing runtime from front to back and then tracking it properly in the external memory. Then there is sub-agent roles and assignment templates. This is for the main user-facing agent to understand the team it has access to by describing roles of other custom agent markdown files that are in the inference provider folder, like an adversary, planner, archivist, implementer, and reviewer. Additionally, there is a template for handoff so that the specialized sub-agent is further constrained by the main user-facing agent to a specific task. Then there is an archive policy. This is a special policy that governs how the agent team should work together and utilize the archiver role to maintain the external memory. Then there is known failures and open decisions, which is really just a log so that I or the agent will not forget. And then there is all the specialized agent markdown files for the main user-facing agent to delegate work to. There is a reference to the README of the harness at the top of every agent file, so the agent will see it at the beginning of every turn. A really important part that I just want to call out quick is what I just mentioned. The reference in each agent markdown prompt that points it to the README of the harness. This is the backbone of the conceptual glue that separates this process as a governing structure from just being better prompts. So that's about it for today. The repo link is in the description. Check it out. I hope it's helpful. If you've got any questions, you can open an issue or send me a DM or whatever. Thanks for checking this out. See you next time.